because right now we're gonna have Oya versus Dewalt, and Oya is also currently undefeated. You know, Dewalt yesterday just looked amazing versus Boneth, just playing such a solid PvP versus him and completely dismantling him in a matchup that we thought Boneth was unbeatable in. So this is going to be definitely a hard task for Oya, but time and time again in this tournament, Nayokin, whenever we're talking about Oya and there's a bit of uncertainty there, he has delivered. So I'm not going to put it past them here to take a win.
Yeah, he's looked really good. Yesterday, Dewalt got the first victory over Boneth in PvP in all of the BSLs that Boneth has ever played. It was his first loss in total in that matchup. So for sure, Dewalt's looking like a killer. But Oya has done really well despite, you know, our record on the screen being 0-1. He's taken out Boa already this season 2-0. He took out Koget 2-0. And they were not close games. He's performed very well. He's also performed very well in the race wars. This guy's really putting up a good showing overall throughout the BSL, including, you know, the other events that he's played in. So we are just waiting to get into the game. We have already the maps set up. The first map is going to be Eclipse. So in the top right, it is our current undefeated 5-0 Protoss player. It is Dewalt.
And in the bottom left, in the Navy, Protoss. Another undefeated Protoss is Oya. Now, of course, Oya hasn't played as many games as Dewalt has just yet in the run of 8. And this is going to be one of his tougher matches.
And now both of these players are in the same team, so I imagine they play with each other quite a bit.
Yeah,
I have to assume so, because there's no way that Oya is up to skill this much without playing the top players in IRK like Dewalt, like True Touch. So there could be some mind games, but since I'm not a Protoss player and I'm not a part of that clan, I'm not gonna, you know, I don't really know what the mind games actually are.
There's something you don't know about StarCraft, Nayokin?
Oh, there's a lot I don't know about StarCraft. You know, yesterday...
Oh, I know that. I know you don't.
Oh, come on. You know, yesterday, Rhett and Nesh, everybody knows who Rhett is, but Nesh is a old school Terran player coming back. He's increased his skill rapidly over the past
Nesh
months.
is really good.
He's telling me how to do that, you know, slick Wraith control where, you know, the Wraith never decelerates that you see a lot of players like Flash and Light be able to do. You know how to do that?
With the move shot?
Yeah, the moving shot?
Yeah, of course.
Well, of course you do, because you're Wraith, man. I saw you pull it out versus Jaeyoon the other day.
Come on, Nayokin, you gotta get out of the fossil times, man. Get it with the times.
I'm stuck in the Lost Temple era, man.
I feel like I'm on... Dude, I'm actually an archaeologist here. Like, I'm not actually a StarCraft caster. I'm an archaeologist because I'm digging up, like, the old fossil players and the builds talking to you.
People, you gotta let these new players know what the old players had to deal with. You know, the +1 weapon, ZVZ.
Yeah.
The proxy Stargate Scout Rush on Lost Temple versus Terran. Like, these are builds you don't see.
Oh, yeah,
I say that 100%. I know I'm going to see it from someone in the foreign scene in the next few days.
Yeah. That is hilarious. That, I mean, StarCraft used to be such a potato game. We're so lucky that there was such a huge infrastructure. Can you imagine playing StarCraft Brood War in 2010 if people never played this game? You log on and like nothing moves the way you want it to move. You're like, wow, this is the worst game ever made.
Definitely, I personally think there are two golden eras. The era before replays, and then this is a current golden era because everybody has access to so much knowledge, but I won't get into that. Now, we do see Proxy Pylon blocked a lot of the mining minerals for Dewalt. On the other side of the map, Oya is just teching like we saw Bonnet yesterday, not building a Zealot, whereas Dewalt consistently has built the Zealot so far. So we'll see what Oya wants to tech for. The probe got a scout and saw exactly what's going on. Do you think we're going to see any Citadel play? We didn't see a single Citadel opener from either player yesterday.
I don't know. It's pretty rare to get Citadel in this matchup these days, I feel like. I mean, yeah, you're going to run into it on ladder, and in a best of 5 situation, I feel like you're going to see at least once. But best of 3, it's pretty rare. Citadel really, I mean, there are some interesting ways of playing it, specifically when you expand behind it, I feel like. But looks like actually Dewalt is pulling some probes off of gas. I think he's actually going to go for a very early expansion. He has the 1 Dragoon kind of poking in here to Oyaji's natural to see exactly how many units Oyaji has. Now, we were bantering so much. I'm not sure if actually Oyaji has a Zealot, but it looks like Dewalt sees that there's 2 Dragoons really early. So, of course, that's going to be valuable information. And he's just going to drop the Nexus down. I mean, that is pretty
greedy. We saw this yesterday, and we saw Boneth go for that on Polypoid versus Boa, I think it was. Now, meanwhile, Oyaji is going for the 2-gate with Robo. This is going to be a 3-gate follow-up from Dewalt. He's had really good success with this build. I think that's a 3-gate. Maybe that's... Yeah, it has to be a 3-gate. There's no way that he was able to mine that much gas and put down a robotics. So Oyaji's going to have a window of opportunity where he can get some damage done with the Reaver and Shuttle. Oh, he may catch a Goon, and that's going to be a big deal. You can see that the bottom Goon kind of glitched out for Oyaji. He takes a little bit of health damage, but nothing major. But I wonder if he suspects anything. He saw even Goon count, he saw Zealot in addition, so I don't think he suspects any particular build from Dewalt. But as I said, both of these players in the same team, so for sure, they probably have inclination of what each player likes to go for. So maybe already Oyaji is aware that this is a fast expansion.
I mean, Oyaji played versus something similar when he played versus Boa, on Polypoid. Now, on Polypoid, I mean, you would even think that it's harder to attack on that map, and he did it very effectively. So this timing here from Oyaji, I feel like, is going to be deadly. He's going to have the Shuttle Reaver probably a significant amount of time before the Dewalt does. And he's going to have, I mean, he's on 2-gate production for a really long time. Dewalt is on 3-gate here, so probably gonna end up with a higher Dragoon count in a minute, but not quite yet. It looks like they have a similar Dragoon count right now. Oh no, actually this was a huge blunder from Oyaji. He's gonna get 1 Dragoon picked off. This 1 Zealot also is extremely valuable for Dewalt because it's gonna tank so much of that Dragoon DPS if Oyaji does choose to fight. So Oyaji is gonna retreat, and actually, this is not looking good at all for Oyaji. He bled a couple of units here and there. Now his Reaver is finally coming down, but there's no shuttle. This might die.
Oh my gosh, it's so far forward. It gets off 1 shot and that's it. And Dewalt, he's not going to win here. He's going to lose a decent chunk of his army, but he's got 3-gate behind it. Meanwhile, Oyaji only has 2-gate. He's got his Nexus already up and running. I saw that the Robo has started, and we don't know what's coming out of that Robo right now for Oyaji. If it's a shuttle, Dewalt's going to be able to most likely match the Reaver timing. Sure, he's not going to have a shuttle to match it, but he's just in a magnificent position. 4th gate coming down. I cannot believe that Oyaji put that Reaver so far forward. That was a massive mistake. And then Dewalt even gets a full scout off and sees that there's no Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, that is a game. I hate to say it, but it's a game-ending mistake. He lost his timing. Now, Dewalt's been mining off of this 2nd Nexus for a really long time, and you can see that Oyaji is still building his. He just started his. Dewalt's going up to 4-gate. He's been non-stop unit production. You can see Oyaji can only afford 2-gate unit production, so already the supply is going to start just skyrocketing for Dewalt here. And not just that, but Dewalt finished his Robo. He finished his support bay, so he's going to also add shuttles and reavers soon to his army composition. Now, it doesn't look like Dewalt is feeling too confident here to just go and bust Oyaji, and that makes sense. There's going to be additional reavers for the defense. There's going to be a shuttle, and also because there's a shuttle, there's always a chance of counterattacks and kind of probe damage in Dewalt's base. So I kind of respect Dewalt's decision here to stay on his side of the map. He's going to mass up. Probably once he gets this shuttle with the reaver here, he's going to try and hit a bus timing.
We do see that Oyaji is trying to sneak around a shuttle, but the pylon just finishes in the nick of time. It's going to get spotted, and Dewalt, there's no way he's going to take any damage to this. Oyaji instantly turns around. I think that the first reaver for Dewalt should be coming out pretty soon. As you stated, Dewalt's supply is going to shoot up pretty quickly. He's up about 10 supply right now. He is using his advantage on the high ground on Eclipse. So Oyaji has no real opportunity to attack anywhere at this point. Second reaver coming out for Oyaji, so he at least has that advantage. I can see he has a ton of probes in his main, so he has at least kept up in probe production. He just needs to get his gateways up and running. Yesterday, remember, we had like Dewalt on like 7 gate versus what Boa had like 4. It was crazy how much production he had. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see an influx of gates pretty soon. Now, I did notice that shuttle has speed, and there was nothing in the main except for one goon, and instead he turns around. I think that could have been a bit of a misstep right there, maybe potentially get a little bit damage done onto the probe line, but instead at least he keeps his reaver alive for any future fight.
Yeah, Dewalt is adding forges now, and it's actually kind of surprising to see just how much this game has slowed down here. You know, Dewalt has had such a massive lead, but somehow they're still even on supply. Here comes a reaver drop. That Scarab's not going anywhere. The second Scarab is maybe not going anywhere either. Oh my god, what am I talking about? That was the biggest explosion I've ever seen. And, you know, honestly, Oya, he just didn't react that whole time.
Yeah, he didn't react, so he must have been doing something. The reaver, the shuttle at least, wasn't across the map, so I'm not sure what he was looking at, but as you said, literally no reaction, and Dewalt got 12 probe kills. If you look at the supply, well, that's basically the entire difference right there. So a massive shot on that reaver, and a bit unlucky for Oyaji because he's apparently been macroing really well despite being on one base. Now, I did see back in the main of Dewalt, he has Forge going, and +1 is a massive upgrade in PvP.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it was really weird to see them even in supply for a second, and I was wondering, did Oyaji also do some counter-harassment in the meantime? But it doesn't seem like it because, look, now Dewalt's kind of skyrocketing ahead. He's at, what, 112 supply, probably going to be at 120 soon here. Meanwhile, Oyaji is just at 100 supply, so it's still really surprising, though, that this game has evolved the way that it did. Dewalt obviously is fortunate for having killed a bunch of probes. Now it's going to be Oyaji's turn. The reaver gets dropped down. The pull is instant though from Dewalt, and he's going to dodge that Scarab. And now Dewalt's going to go for his own attack here. He knows that a shuttle and 2 reavers are missing, but there's still 1 reaver here in front where Oyaji gets targeted down relatively fast, but it did get some nice shots off. The shuttle is on the way back for Oyaji though. Dewalt pushing forward with his shuttle, puts down the reavers. They're going to do so much damage. The one shuttle does go down. Here comes Oyaji's shuttle though. Will it unload the reavers in time? And it will. And actually, Oyaji is going to win this fight.
I can't believe he held that fight. There was 2 reaver or 1 reaver advantage for Dewalt. He even had shuttle advantage. I thought for a second Oyaji's just going to instantly fly over those goons and lose his shuttle. It is within 1 hit, so he's got to be very careful. But he does have an army advantage right now. Remember, he lost 12 probes, so the difference here is just probe count, probably. He's caught a couple of goons here. Shuttle is so dangerously low. If he loses it, oh my gosh, he takes 1 hit. Doesn't fall though. He's playing with fire, and I don't know if Dewalt has any reavers back at his base.
I like this. I like how Oyaji is playing. This is the sign of a very confident player. And that's what you need when you're playing tournament games. And it just looks like Dewalt. I mean, I really don't understand how he gets into this situation. He had such an immense lead in the opening of the game. And now he's getting pushed. The shuttle is going to go down, though. So Oyaji, I think overextending, he's going to lose both these reavers for free. And that was a large part of his firepower. But that last shot just killed like 4 Dragoons. And now I think Oyaji has an overwhelming amount of Dragoons left here. Look, there's like, you know, 14, 16 Dragoons or something. And Dewalt is transitioning into Zealots, but no Zealot speed just yet. He does not have enough production to reinforce this natural. And I feel like he's going to lose this Nexus. The one storm does go off. That was important for him to get that off, and then probably has another storm to work with. These Dragoons on the ramp are doing work, you know, being high ground. They do receive less damage from the low ground. Dragoons. Here comes another storm, but it's on top of completely healthy Dragoons, so these are gonna live. They're gonna keep outputting DPS, and here comes a round of Zealots with speed.
Yeah, Zealots are gonna finish the job. Like, there's nothing left for Dewalt. Maybe that has to have a Reaver. Okay, Reaver comes out, gets a really nice shot on top of almost all of the Zealots, but the probe line's been eviscerated, and Dewalt taps out. Dude. What am I watching? Like, Oya has now taken down Dewalt, who was 10-0, took down Boneth yesterday, and Oya, I'm speechless really, because you know I've played both of these players on the ladder, and when I played Dewalt, I get a different feeling playing versus him. Like, I feel like my chances of winning versus him are much lower than when I play versus Oya. But Oya, I guess I haven't played recently, because this guy is really impressing throughout all of BSL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Explain to me how he loses 12 probes and supplies even.
I mean, that's not supposed to happen. And remember, Dewalt had such a huge build order lead. It's just really weird to see that happening. I don't know. I have no idea what happened in that game. I don't know if Dewalt is feeling the pressure here or what. I mean, he shouldn't be, because he's at 10-0. There's no risk of elimination here. Maybe he wants to prove a point that he's the best Protoss outside of Korea. And maybe that's why, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. There's like no world in which there's any explanation for how that game went, other than Oya outplayed Dewalt, and Dewalt was not playing that well, because the build order advantage, again, was massive. He killed like 16 probes for free and still lost every major fight. So I don't know if it was his micro or what, but getting absolutely demolished there by Oya, and that's not going to be a confidence booster.
Yeah, there's three things that happen in that game where I'm just like, what? First, the build order. Dewalt gets the Nexus up, and it's up and running, what, like 2 minutes before Oya. So you're thinking, okay, well, this guy's got an insane influx of money. And he did. He had way more goons. He had so much more. Then later on, I look at the Nexus, or I look at the supply after losing the probes of Oya, and despite losing 12 probes, the supply's even. And then the third thing is the fight outside of Oya's base. The Reavers were across the map, and he still wins the fight. And you think in a position like that, where the other player has Reaver, you're bottled up in a choke, you're just going to get crushed. I don't know how he wins that fight at all.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think part of it is also, you know, the economic lead was kind of just stifled by some of these fights. I mean, Oya, obviously he was on fewer gateways the whole game, but his robo was faster. So his Reaver production was online earlier, and Dewalt took a while to build his Reavers up, and then his Reavers didn't do as much as Oya's in the fights. But anyway, that was game one. Oya taking convincing lead now, and we're going to get into game two on Sylphid. Okay, so actually Oya still needs some, like a couple of minutes here before he is ready to play game two. And yeah, I mean, I think it really... Oh, can you read that, Dan?
Is that Zinkler? I think that's Zinkler. Zinkler, thank you for the tip, man. He said, go Zeke. I agree. Zeke needs to get some wins. He's looking like he's going to be eliminated. Let me check his record. He is 1-3 right now, so he definitely needs to get some wins. Okay, we are ready now, so we're going to get into Sylphid as our second match. In the bottom left, in the blue, taking a victory off of our current Protoss King, it is Oya.
Bottom right in the red, the Russian Protoss. It is Dewalt. And yeah, I mean, last game again. I'm telling you, man. It's really interesting how StarCraft works sometimes, but Dewalt going for that 3-gate and playing so passively as a follow-up, whereas Oya kind of went for that robo, that higher tech path. You know, when you go for those many units and you're not using them, and then you just go into a mid-game army where unit advantage isn't as important, more so than positional and just how much DPS the reavers are outputting. I feel like it was just not that great of a build from Dewalt, or maybe if he was going to play like that, maybe he should have went for a faster third. But it is, in any case, you know, it is just shocking that Dewalt lost that game. And, you know, if I was in his shoes, I would not be happy with that one.
No, I would not be happy for sure. Now, the two things that I saw that Dewalt did that Oyaji didn't do is Dewalt did go into Storm. Now, that's a big commitment there. That means he also had to get his gas faster at his natural. He also got Storm and he got Forge with +1. So those are all upgrades that really didn't come into play. I saw, two
Right.
Storms? One of them was pretty good. The other thing that just came to mind was despite getting the Nexus, maybe he cut probes to make sure that he didn't die to some type of fast attack. You know, he did go into fast 3 gate as a follow-up, but other than that, I didn't really see, you know, a big difference between both of these players. Now, both players I like have scouted the center because they do not. These are the two players that have proxy gated the center on this map. So I like that both have done it. They are going to intercept each other and see exactly where each other are, going to give off a first scout. Now, we've seen consistently that Dewalt has gone for the Zealot, and he hasn't really done much with it. Remember yesterday versus Bonnet, he didn't really use it that much either.
Right. Well, we'll have to see here what both players are going for. Dewalt has his probe inside of Oyaji's base. So does Oya and Dewalt. But it does take a while before these builds come online. Of course, this first probe cannot be killed until the Dragoons are out. And Dragoons can't be out earlier than like 3:10, 3 minutes, 5 seconds, 3 minutes, 10 seconds. But after that, once the probe is out of the picture, then you generally see the Citadel coming down, the Robos coming down, the extra gates coming down. Sometimes you do see the second gate thrown down a bit earlier here. Neither player... Oh, actually, yeah, Oyaji went for that second gate just now. Dewalt prematurely left the base before the Dragoon comes out.
Please leave that probe. We saw that yesterday, that Dewalt did versus Bonnet. And Oyaji wanted to get the same move off, but of course, Dewalt knows that position, instantly scouts it. Now, again, we have... Oh, actually, this is a faster second gate, I think, for Oyaji. Maybe it's the same. I can't remember exactly the build order. But Dewalt looks like... Nope. Never mind. I thought it was going to be a Nexus, but instead, there goes that Robo.
Yeah, it's going to be a Robo here, and the 2-gate opening is very stable. You know, it allows you to get a lot of Dragoons. And generally, with the 2-gate opening, I think you end up going for the Obs first, then the Reaver. So this is probably one of the best catch-all builds, especially on a map like Sylphid, where you don't have a ramp. And I think on maps like Eclipse, obviously Polyploid or whatever, ramps where you have a high ground for your main, it is more likely to see the 1-gate type play, something like what Dewalt is doing here. Luckily for Dewalt, though, it's not like Oyaji went for something crazy like a 3-gate, which really could have pressured this build, considering this Robo is so fast. But as is, both players are essentially going to be doing very similar builds. Oyaji's going to have a small Dragoon lead for a second, but it's not going to be substantial enough for him to push out onto the map. And Dewalt is going to have, you know, kind of a faster shuttle, maybe a faster observer. But generally, if you go 1-gate Robo, you really need to get the Reaver out ASAP, because, you know, you're going to have fewer, you know, if your opponent's going for something like a 3-gate, you're just going to die. So technically here, I think Oyaji's build... Oh, and actually he does have an observer, so never mind. I'm totally wrong about this matchup.
I like the build order from Dewalt because with it being Sylphid,
Holy
he can
love.
just holy love. Thank you again for another $50 tip. This guy tipped like $150 yesterday. It's crazy, man. Thank you so much. It will go to BSL 11 and the other tournaments like the Race Wars and Ladder tournament. And thinking about Sylphid, you know, even though he had a later gate, okay, well, this might be a misstep because now he's going to be out in the open field. He's not going to have that arc advantage in his main, but it is 6v6. First shots go to Dewalt, so instead, Oyaji's going to have to back off.
Yeah, I feel like this was kind of risky from Dewalt, though, honestly. I mean, what if Oya went for something like a 3-gate? I feel like he would have gotten instantly punished there. But luckily for him, that did not happen. And now Dewalt has a shuttle on the way. Doesn't look like Oya has a support bay just yet, but of course he might have a shuttle building. I'm not quite sure what Oya's using his robotics for. And he has quite a lot of... Oh, okay, there we go. So there's the support bay. No obs. He does get the scout off at the front of... You know, the fact that he went for these 2 gateways early on allowed him to push out onto the map a bit earlier. And Oya got to indirectly scout Dewalt's build. I mean, he saw essentially the observer pop. And I'm sure if he didn't see that, he might have thrown down the observatory himself. So, you know, confirming what Dewalt was doing. And now Dewalt's confirming what Oya's doing. And they're essentially in the same position here. You know, slightly different ways of getting there. I think Dewalt's going to have the shuttle a bit faster. And as you were mentioning yesterday, Nyokin, these positions advantage Dewalt because it's much easier for him to just fly straight into Oyaji's main with the shuttle than it is for Oyaji to fly into Dewalt's main.
Yeah, so we're going to have to keep an eye on Dewalt's shuttle to make sure that we don't miss a huge probe explosion like we saw last game.
Yeah.
I do see a 3rd gate has gone down for Dewalt. Observatory coming in for Oyaji. So he, I mean, playing a little bit risky because, of course, Dewalt could have gone for DT and he would have been in trouble, but not getting punished this game. 2nd Reaver already out for Oyaji. Shuttle should be coming in pretty soon. Now back in Dewalt's base, I didn't see Citadel and I didn't see Forge or anything. I just saw pretty much, you know, standard 3-gate and Robo. But he does have his NAT up and running.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's not much to say here. They're both kind of just following their builds and posturing. Double Reaver here from Dewalt, and he's going straight into 4-gate. I'm assuming Oya. Now Oya only has 2-gate here. And Dewalt has a decent supply lead. So I don't know if that's because he has more probes or what, but he's going to probably go for an attack here. He does have a couple of zealots to buffer for the Dragoons, and he did go for the double Reaver before the shuttle. So he's going to have access to these 2 Reavers. Oyaji is pushing out. The zealots do scout it, and, you know, the zealots are taking most of the shots. Those were really good connections there from Dewalt, but his Reavers are getting caught out of position once again. Oyaji does not pick up one of his Reavers, though. It does take damage, and I feel like this is going to be... Oh my god, that was a slick pickup from Oyaji. Look at that micro there, and actually Oyaji is pulling ahead just from this shuttle micro alone. Somehow, man, the kid does it again.
I was watching it the whole time. Even though Dewalt had higher supply, it just looked like there was way more goons for Oyaji. He's going to take out the last goon from Dewalt in the... Oh, no, he's not. He loses his Reaver. And that's a big deal because even if a Reaver only has a little bit of health, one Scarab shot can be a difference maker in the fight. Meanwhile, Dewalt gets away with 1 health on his shuttle. So Oyaji had a really nice trade, but look at the supply. Still 12 supply lead for Dewalt. He still kept his Reaver. He's got more gates. We see Zealots now starting to be pumped out from Oyaji. But I think Dewalt, despite having a bad trade, look, he's already got his Nat Gas up and running. He's definitely skyrocketing ahead. 6 gate coming in.
Yeah, I mean, this is the probe advantage, and clearly Oya cut a lot of probes to probably continuously, or, you know, who knows what it was. I mean, they might have also... I'm assuming Oya cut probes. There's no other explanation here, but he must have been just continuously pumping Dragoons out of the gates and maybe occasionally cutting probes. But at the same time, Oya basically has a similar saturation to Dewalt. So really just kind of, it's hard to say from a bird's eye view here. You really probably have to dig in deeper to the replay to see exactly what was going on with the supply advantage for Dewalt, especially in mirror matchups. It just is never always apparent or evident, right? But here comes Dewalt. He is on the high ground here, and the 2 Reavers get unloaded. They're going to get some shots off onto Oyaji. And honestly, Dewalt's positioning here is magnificent. The observer was out there spotting, seeing exactly what's going on, and Dewalt's going to pull back here. I don't know what he saw that he didn't like, but, you know, oftentimes you kind of have to stay mobile in games of StarCraft. You know, like if you're just staying in one position and you allow the opponent to move around and get better positions, like eventually your position is gonna become compromised. So Dewalt just pulling back here, making sure there's no kind of run by, making sure there's no kind of random drops, and now he's gonna go for a drop into Oya's main.
Yeah, and there's no defense. Oya's in the center of the map, so he's just gonna have to go for a counterattack. Probes are preemptively pulled. Shuttle is very low. If it gets
oh my god,
it gets a nice shot there, but the shuttle doesn't have speed. So if he wants to help his army in this incoming fight, he needs to get over there pretty quickly. But it looks like Dewalt just has so many more units in comparison to Oya. Look at Oya. He's sharking to the bottom of the map, trying to intercept this shuttle. He knows there are 2 reavers in there. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to get it because Dewalt's smartly just sitting over the high ground. And look at the supply now, 20 supply lead for Oya. I don't think he, oh, this is going to be quad oh, the shuttle into the main is going to get, oh, I thought it was going to get sniped. But Oya trying to make something happen, but there's just no opening for him.
Yeah, Dewalt, you can see his, I mean, his play here has been magnificent in terms of holding the shuttle out onto the map, knowing that Oya might go for a snipe, but also defending the drops and the counterattacks from Oya. And now Oya losing a bit of patience. I mean, he did lose a lot of probes. There's a drop in Oya's main while this is happening. Oya's gonna come forward. Oh my god, the mineral line for Oya gets completely eradicated. Meanwhile, somehow Oya kills like 40 trillion Dragoons of Dewalt, and he's pushing in here. He's gonna get 1 reaver. Now Oya does not have a shuttle to work with, so this is all he has here, and his economy's in shambles. So Dewalt, he's gonna run back with the shuttle. He does have more units in his main, but this is almost overwhelming from Oya.
Look at the supply. It's plummeting for Dewalt. If he can catch that shuttle, remember it has 1 hit. He gets the shuttle, and now the reavers are isolated in the back. But unfortunately for Oya, he doesn't shoot the reavers in the back. But there's still so many goons left over for Oya. Supplies are still in favor of Dewalt, though. He's up about 4 supply, and it looks like Dewalt is just barely going to hold.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible, but it, you know, I think Oya killed quite a significant amount of probes at the natural himself, so it looks like this game is probably going to stabilize. I mean, I don't know.
I think he's going to go for it.
Yeah, Oya might just go for a bust here because I don't know how, you know, how he evaluates his position. He does have Zealot speed, though, and that's going to help a lot. He's probably going to be rallying Zealots behind this. The Zealots are going to just tank so much of these Dragoon hits, but so many more Dragoons from Dewalt reinforcing the position at the natural. It's going to be way too much for Oya to deal with, though these 3 Zealots might change the tide. No, Oya's not paying attention. He's going to lose these Zealots for free, and that would be massive. 1 Zealot goes down, 2 go down, and now as the situation clarifies, Dewalt is up like 20 supply.
Yeah, if Oya didn't lose his entire mineral line, it was like 25 probes that ended up falling, I would still like his position. But now that his secondary follow-up didn't end the game, Dewalt's got his reaver out. He's got massive tech advantage. I think he also has Citadel and Templar Archive, but maybe not. He's been mining gas for, oh, he doesn't. So it is Oya with speed advantage on his Zealots, but no Templar Archive. You can see that he's trying to rebuild his probe count. Well, maybe not. I see that Nexus not blinking, so he may just be going for an all-in. We saw Shuttle and Reaver is already out. Now, Dewalt is across the map, but that is so many units. I don't know if 1 Reaver can even the tides. Where did the Shuttle go for Oya? It's at the bottom of the map.
It's not here for the fight, and Dewalt has just not even made Reavers, I don't think, so he's full on to the Gateway army right now. That is a lot of Zealots, though, for Oya, so I think his composition is actually better than Dewalt, even though he has fewer Dragoons. These Zealots are going to connect with the Dragoons, and now Oya is going to have some Reavers to work with as well. This is probably the best fight he can hope for. Dewalt, though, spreading very nicely, using his Dragoon advantage as well as he can. But it's just so hard to fight against these Zealots. You have to really kite them. You know, ideally you kite them forever, kill the Zealots, and then engage. Dewalt's trying to snipe the shuttle, but now Dewalt's army is getting segmented. He's going to lose around 10 supply for free. That's 4 Dragoons or something. And, I mean, this is looking pretty dicey for Dewalt. You know, even though he's in a advantageous position,
he just loaded up his Reavers at the net, and now he may lose some probes. Instant pull. Very nicely done. Now these goons
oh my god,
top,
it connects.
Oh, he gets a connection. These goons at the top, if Oya could have caught these 7 goons, I think he has he's going to intercept the shuttle, man, maybe. Where can Dewalt go? He's trying to catch it, but it just barely unloads the reavers in time. And now that the reavers have been unloaded, even though they are going to fall most likely, I think there's just way too much Dewalt.
Yeah, there's a lot of Dewalt, and these Dragoons are going to come in here and slow the retreat, but Oya's going to be able to catch these Dragoons for free, actually, so I'm not sure if that was worth it. Still, Dewalt's army is massive behind this. They're both on 2 Reavers. It's not quite easy, obviously, to attack into double Reaver either. And, oh my god, though, Oyaji's going to... Oh, that was just... You hate to see that one. Instantly loading up the Reavers, and they get bopped in the shuttle. And now Dewalt has just a 2 Reaver advantage, which is probably insurmountable at this point. You can see a bunch of red dots streaming across the map to reinforce this. Still only Dragoon production. Dewalt did not put down a Citadel, I don't think. But, you know, Oyaji, I just don't see him stopping this attack.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because the shuttle, look at it, it has 19 health, and he just couldn't finish the job. So Oyaji ends up tapping out, but another really close game. You thought Oyaji might be able to win it with that counterattack, but the damage that Dewalt did with those 2 Reavers in the main, I guess a little bit just too much to, you know, deal with in the mid-late game.
Yeah, I mean, that was honestly, that was such a back and forth game from both players, just playing absolutely out of their minds. You can see they're very evenly matched, to be completely honest with you. Dewalt, though, once again, I feel like had a pretty decent build order lead in that game. Just, you know, not as massive as the first one, but slight adjustments here and there. I think, you know, somehow he ended up with more supply, even though nothing really happened. And again, not sure if that was in worker count or if that was in army count. Most likely it was the worker count, because, you know, generally you don't see someone pull ahead that significantly otherwise. So, you know, Oya maybe kind of more aggressive in the sense of he plays lower probe count, which sometimes can catch players off guard, and maybe that's what happened in game 1. But game 2, that's going to go to Dewalt, and game 3 is going to be on Benzene, so that's going to be an interesting map to have a PvP on.
Yeah, 2-player map, a lot of proxy locations. We for sure could see a proxy 2-gate. You know, I'm watching the stream now and replaying some of the fights.
Yeah.
The last fight, there was that moment where Oyaji had the 4 goons intercepting the shuttle, and it went down to 1 health. If there was 1 more goon, Oyaji would have killed the shuttle and nothing would have unloaded. So a bit lucky there for Dewalt. So let's get into game 3. Who's going to be our Protoss top dog? Is it going to be Dewalt going 6-0, or is Oyaji going to take him down and go 3-0? So in the top right, we have our Russian Protoss narrowly escaping death. It is Dewalt.
And in the bottom left, his teammate from Sweden. It is Oyaji in the red Protoss. And Benzene is like a very interesting map here for PvP. A lot of drop harassment is possible. The map is also very, very big, so generally you're going to see expansions here. I mean, it's really hard to kill someone. You know, also the natural is so kind of small, the choke, that it's just really hard to push into that. So I'm assuming we're going to see another macro game here.
Yeah, probably going to be a repeat of Eclipse. We always talk about how long the rush distances are on Benzene, so I think something like the 1-gate Nexus that we saw Dewalt go for would be an ideal opener. Now, Dewalt... Okay, I always wonder if anybody's going to go for a 12 Nexus. You know, in PvP, you don't expect 12 Nexus, but the couple times that I faced 12 Nexus myself, they ended up having the same amount of goons. People have gotten much smarter with building placement. Putting Pylon in front of the Nexus soaks up a lot of hits. Not going to be the case this time, but very powerful build, at least the times I've run into it. Now, Oyaji getting gas, Dewalt getting gas, of course. And we are just going to wait and see if anybody wants to put on some Zealot pressure.
Yeah, not really much to talk about here, so I'm gonna go into a very good topic here that we were discussing in the pregame, in the pre-stream, and you did your research. But I was gonna ask you, what's your favorite Quentin Tarantino movie? And I'm sure that you've had forewarning about this. Okay, you're basically prepared. You basically have gone
the gypsy rant.
Yeah, you got coaching. You're just ready, probably. You probably already have a response here, but hit me with it.
I
Do you even
don't
have
a response, but I'm ready to hear the rant. So my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie has to be Inglourious Basterds. The only other Quentin Tarantino movie that I really liked was Django Unchained. I've seen Pulp Fiction, I've seen Reservoir Dogs, but not really my movies. Now, you told me that there's only one answer. Now, in my experience interacting with other people that like Quentin Tarantino, the answer is Pulp Fiction. So I'm going to go with that for you.
No,
am I right?
It's obviously Kill Bill, dude.
Kill Bill? I haven't seen that one.
No, I'm just kidding. I haven't even seen Kill Bill, but honestly, I feel like that's the. No, I was gonna say Pulp Fiction, but I was surprised with your answer was way more knowledgeable than I was expecting, dude. So, yeah, Pulp Fiction is great, man. I mean, I don't know how you can. You didn't like Pulp Fiction?
It was okay.
Yeah, you better be careful, dude.
I don't remember it very well. You know, I remember Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Other than that, not much.
What do you mean? What do you mean you remember Bruce Willis? He's a third of the movie.
I can't. I haven't seen.
I mean, there's John Travolta in there, Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson's in every single Quentin Tarantino movie. But,
yeah. You're telling me Pulp Fiction to you is Bruce Willis? Do you think it's like?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since middle school.
You think we're talking about The Sixth Sense or something, dude? Like,
Sixth Sense is a good movie.
Or Armageddon or something, dude? Are you?
I don't know.
Pulp Fiction, dude. You're due for a rewatch, man. Come on.
Okay, I'll rewatch it, kind of like I'll rewatch Lord of the Rings, Kappa. So we see Oyachi. He's going to be the one going for the fast Nexus, and Dewalt is going for fast Robo. I saw Probe moving around the top side of the map. I thought he might be proxying something, but not going to be the case. Now, he's going around the outskirts, and I think this Probe will be able to get a scout into the Nexus. Oh, that is not Dewalt's Probe moving around or near Oyachi's Nexus, so maybe he won't scout this, but regardless, Dewalt's going to have a big tech advantage. His Robo is way, way, way far ahead of Oyachi's.
Yeah, I mean, still though, it really, there isn't much difference here in the builds. Dewalt is going to get the Nexus down now. Dewalt does have some tempo out onto the map as compensation for this later Nexus. So technically he's getting some more scouting information than Oyachi. But at the same time, you can see actually Dewalt is getting an observatory, and Oyachi just delayed his robo. So technically if Dewalt went for something like a DT rush, this would have been the best game to go for it. But again, DT rush is just so high, so easily punished in this matchup. Though on a map like Benzene, it wouldn't be a bad choice because you have a decent amount of time to get cannons and Templar with it, possibly. But just in general, a much harder build to make work consistently. If the other player's going observers, you kind of just end up in a really bad spot.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I'm curious how this is going to work out, because remember, we already saw Oyachi pull a victory out on Eclipse, and Dewalt was the one with the econ advantage, and somehow Oyachi was able to keep pace in terms of supply. Now that he has the Nexus advantage, you would think that he's going to be the one that's just going to shoot up in supply, have a better, overall army going into the mid game. So I'm already liking Oyachi's position quite a bit. You see that he's up for supply. I haven't seen a reaver just yet for Dewalt. He did go for that observer, as you were mentioning. Wants to make sure that no DT shenanigans are going to get him. But he did miss the goon count. He didn't see exactly how many goons Oyachi has. There's a support bay for Oyachi.
Yeah, the observer is going to see everything though. But again, I mean, both players just doing the same builds here. There's not, there's going to be small variations here and there where one player is going to have maybe an extra couple dragoons for a minute. The other player might have a slightly faster reaver. But these advantages in general are not significant enough, given that both players are basically going for the same thing, where one player will have a timing attack. By the time they get across the map here, that timing is probably going to disappear. Now, if it was something extremely drastic, like, one player went for something like a 1-gate expo into like really, really late robo, and the other player went straight robo and tried to attack like with a very fast shuttle, then you'd see a timing attack. But both players essentially went 2-gate robo nexus. So it, and not in the same order, but it doesn't really matter the order in which they go, given the fact that they're playing against the same build basically across the map there. So again, Dewalt's positioning himself for a faster third than Oyaji, but remember, Oyaji did have the slightly faster natural. So if Oyaji takes this third a bit later, it doesn't really matter. He's going to have around the same boat count. And yeah, we'll have to see here if Oyaji does choose to go for a third base or if he chooses to go for an attack. But it is Benzene, and Benzene, the rush distances again are just so significant, and also attacking across these double bridges to get into the third is really hard. That it's hard to see any player really commit to an attack, although Oyaji is moving out onto the map.
Yeah, Oyaji is moving out, and I think this is a bit dangerous because he would be walking into the bridges potentially where Dewalt can have an, oh my gosh, that's triple reaver versus one reaver. He's not expecting units to be here at all, and he does see the nexus. Now that will allow Oyaji potentially to get into a positional advantage, but instead he backs off. And I was going to ask you, what do you think about this third nexus? I think it's an interesting take because Dewalt saw that there was no observer for Oyaji, so there's no way for him to suspect it, and it's not like his Nat Econ is kicked in just yet. But it does leave Oyaji, or it does leave Dewalt susceptible to drops because he has to defend his third base and his natural and his main.
Yeah, but you can see already a couple of dragoons here. And to be completely honest with you, Nyoken, these dragoons don't need to be with the main army anyway. So very nicely played here from Dewalt. Triple reaver here, just unassailable. And when we get into these situations here, both players are going to look to add their citadels, add their Templar archives, and transition into that mid to late game Protoss composition that consists of Zealot, Archon, Dragoon, Templar. And it is in this stage of the game where shuttle harass does become much more prominent, because it is really hard to have a response to storm drops in PvP. You can't mass turrets like Terran can and put a couple of mines here and tanks that shoot down the Templar before they storm. You don't have Scourge like Zerg do. So really, the defining factor in mid to late game PvP is the harassment. Now, Oya's going to try and poke in here with the shuttle. He's going to lose one Reaver. Again, we're so far into the game that, losing a Reaver here or there is not a massive deal. Oya, again, he does have a supply advantage, and that's probably because he went to a higher gateway count due to the fact that he was on 2 base for longer, only now getting his 3rd base. But on Benzene, again, look at just how hard it is to walk across these 2 bridges. It's going to be really hard to find a timing.
Yeah, we see that Oyaji was trying to find an opening with the Reaver drop, but Cannon in a nice position, and I love the pylon up there, allowing for some vision. Now, Oyaji has taken a 3rd base himself. We can see that Dewalt has finally taken a supply lead. His 3rd base income has started to kick in, but I think the tech advantage is in favor of Oyaji, because that is, oh, never mind, Templar Archive is also done for Dewalt, but the first 2 Templars are already out. I think he's going to find more success with Templar drop than he has with the Reavers. Supplies are very even, 140 to 140. We've got double forge for Oyaji. He's going to be the one. Oh, never mind. Dewalt is taking his 4th base himself too.
Yeah, I mean, this is Benzene. Just a very, very macro map. It's so hard for anyone in any matchup really to be aggressive. I mean, even in ZVZ, like this is the kind of map where 9 pool doesn't necessarily punish 12 hatch. That's how far the rush distances are. So, you know, just getting into this later game stages, PvP does get exciting though in the late game. In my opinion, it's one of the best matchups. There's going to be harassment everywhere. The compositions get really interesting. The fights are really fun. And they're going to have the economy to back up
no vision
fights.
No vision for Dewalt, but he's just running in. This is so brazen. 2 reavers at the bottom, snipe one of the reavers in the front, and the other reaver goes down. Supplies are going to plummet for Oyaji very quickly. Storm goes off, Blink gets a couple of the reavers, but I think there's just way too much Dewalt. He still has 1 reaver. Where is Oyaji's supply? It's just an overwhelming amount of goons for Dewalt right now.
Yeah, and I was getting worried there. We saw so many blue Dragoons really relative to the red Dragoon count, but at the same time, Dewalt was on the ramp for the longest time, so he was getting some of the uphill misses against Oyaji's Dragoons, but because his Reavers were still alive, he ends up pushing that position. Now, what does that mean? Well, he can actually secure a 5th base much easier now, maybe at the bottom, but the reality is, you know, neither player really are maxed just yet, and you don't want to be expanding too fast. You know, it's probably more valuable at this point to remain on the current economy that they're at and just scale their unit production up, get closer to max, and then start expanding. Both players are going to occupy their high grounds, or the opposing player's high ground rather. Though Dewalt is going to get kind of caught out of position. This Reaver is going to go down for 3. There's a lot of Zealots here, and that was such a sick storm on top of most of Oyaji's army, but Oya has way more units here. Now, Dewalt will get this Reaver, but the Reaver gets a lot of damage onto the Zealots. A sick storm onto Dewalt's Dragoons, but another storm onto Oyaji's Dragoons, kind of trading blow for blow. But it looks like Oyaji just has more units as the Archons are morphing in, but Dewalt is streaming a bunch of units from his base.
Yeah, Dewalt is the one that's reinforcing much quicker than Oyaji. I see a big blob of units just sitting at his natural, but he's not reinforcing as fast. There's a 15 supply lead for Dewalt, but the Archon is a big difference maker in the PvP matchup. Luckily for Dewalt, there's mostly goons, so the Archon is not just going to chew through a ton of Zealots that quickly. I think Oyaji can win this fight, but instead he's turning around. And that's why, because there's a counterattack to top left. He has to deal with that. Meanwhile, 4th base is already up and running for Dewalt, and it seems like Dewalt is starting to run away with this game.
Yeah, I mean, this Zealot hit squad is a massive move here from Dewalt, and you can see Dewalt looking a bit more confident, a bit more comfortable in these really late game situations, especially on a map like Benzene. It really tests your macro capabilities. Now, the upgrades are looking good for Dewalt. He does have an attack upgrade advantage. Nice, kind of a random storm there, but really just so many units though for Oyaji here. He might be able to push through. You can see that actually so many Dragoons still, and nice storm on top of Dewalt's units, but Dewalt is going to get some reinforcements, some storm of his own on top of the red Dragoons, and again, Dewalt unrelentless with his harassment.
Yeah, Oyaji is falling apart, and the Zealots are going to deal a decent amount of damage to the 3rd base. Oyaji is going to clean up all of these goons. Supplies did plummet for both sides, but a 20 supply lead still in favor of Dewalt. Still, he has his 4th base. It looks like 5th base is going up too. And Oyaji is, I think, mined out in his main. Nat is going to be dangerously low. So essentially, he's mining on 1 base now, or 1.5 really. He really needs to get top left up and running. He is very close in supply. He does have 800 minerals, so he could go for a double expand. I don't think he's going to double expand, but he can afford to put down that Nexus. He does put it down. He does have the upgrade, the weapon upgrade advantage, as we were saying. I know +1 is a massive upgrade in PvP, but I'm not too sure about +2. I guess it nullifies the +1 armor from the Protoss side, but really I'm not sure. But overall, supplies are still surprisingly close. Oyaji was down 20, now he's only down 5, and that's one way to get back into the game. We could see a big storm drop somewhere.
Yeah, actually, Oya is now at 2-1. Meanwhile, Dewalt is at 1-1, so Oya's army is scaling a bit better. at the moment. He is adding shuttles as well. I wonder, I mean, you know, building reavers at this stage of the game is kind of pointless because they're just not as impactful. They're hard to micro, and storms completely shut them down. So I'm looking at that shuttle. I'm thinking it's a storm drop. It looks like it's going into Dewalt's natural main base, and okay, the storm kind of whiffed there. And luckily for Dewalt, he does not lose any probes. Now Oya is going to use this time absolutely blindly walking up this high ground, not getting punished at all. And you know, just looking at the map, it doesn't look like Oya has too many observers out onto the map, but Dewalt does have at least a couple, and really just seems like a blunder here from Oya. Maybe that means that he's been, you know, making a lot of shuttles. You can see some observers now getting rallied to Oya's side of the map, so he's gonna have to spread them out at some point. And Oya's trying to defend both high grounds. This is maybe a bit of a hyperextension.
I love the DT from Dewalt. You can see that he's using it to try and find the Templar. He has spotted one, so that's going to be goodbye Templar. Storm drop into the Nat again, but the shuttle goes down, so that means he's going to lose all of these Templars, and I really think he needed them in his army right now, because Dewalt looks like he's going to push across the bridges. He's going to lose a couple goons here, a bit of an overstep there, but he does know that that creates an opening to the top side, and that's instantly where he goes. Oya-G mimicking the movement from, oh no, he's not. That is a lot of zealots, but this one Archon can deal tons and tons of damage.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the supply lead here for the The fight does break out. Storms on top of everything. Zealots on Zealots. Dragoons in the back just wailing on the other side's, you know, forces. But it looks like the Dewalt is going to have way more units. Again, the supply coming through there. The storms were just not enough for Oya. And the Zealots, you know, once the Zealots break through and they get on top of the Dragoons, it's just so hard for the opposing player to do anything about it. You know, again, the Dragoons just have such a hard time dealing with the Zealots, and the Storm also complementing the Zealot push from Dewalt is going to be more than enough to essentially eradicate the remnants of Oya's army, and he GG's out.
Yes, GG coming in from Oya-G. Dewalt is going to win the series 2-1, but a very, very close series, very back and forth. I'm a bit surprised at how well Oya-G did. He had moments where he could have won 2-0 on the Sylphid game. I don't know if there was really a moment he could have won on this particular game, but it was very close throughout all of Benzine. Really, it just started to go downhill with the 5 Zealot attack to top left. Everything else looked really nice from Oya-G.
Yeah, I mean, that hit squad from Dewalt was absolutely massive, but I feel like just Dewalt's skill level showed in that game, just his comfortableness in that late game situation. I mean, not only did he have the wherewithal to multitask on multiple fronts, he was also defending, you know, drops really well. He was expanding faster, and not just that, but he had a really good vision on the map. Unlike Oya-G, you know, Dewalt constantly repositioning his observers to the point where he noticed actually that Oya had no observers of his own. So he started mixing in DTs to snipe Templars, like you mentioned. So really just incredibly high level there from Dewalt. And Oya, without a doubt, I mean, Oya is a superb talent. This guy plays late game. He mixes in early aggression, but he does like playing late game, and he holds his own in late game situations. So, you know, with some time, he's probably gonna catch up to Dewalt's level in general, but still, I think Dewalt's showing that, you know, he's just a bit ahead right now of the other two Protosses.
Yeah, for me, the difference maker was the response with the probe pulls, like you said, the vision, as you also said, but the reinforcements. There was never a fight where I saw Oya-G reinforce as quick as Dewalt.
Yeah.
So I would work on those 3 things if I was Oya-G, but overall, he played super solid, but you got to play more than solid versus Dewalt. You got to play next level if you're going to take down someone like Dewalt or Bonnet, 2 of the best players in the foreign scene. But regardless, Oya-G looking really, really good.